You think your job is safe. Your boss seems fair. You attend a meeting trusting everything is fine. Then, out of nowhere, his wife storms in, points her finger at you, accuses you of something outrageous, attacks you, verbal, maybe physical. The room goes silent. Everyone stares. And you freeze. That moment changes everything. My name's name, and this is the story of how one confrontation in a meeting shook not just me, and not just the company, but forced every hidden truth into the light. What happened next changed my life. In this video, you'll hear everything. What led to that attack, how I responded, how I survived emotionally, and how I turned the shock into power that even changed company policy. If you ever feel powerless in a workplace, this story is for you. Before that day, things looked normal. I had a job I liked, responsibilities I handled, co-workers I respected. My boss seemed supportive. His wife, she was always around, at company events, sometimes in meetings, more as a background figure. I thought she was harmless. Occasionally she'd make small remarks, jokes, or side comments, but nothing serious. But I also noticed, when I presented ideas, sometimes she'd frown, or cut me off softly. Sometimes she'd double-check things I said, not for accuracy, but as if challenging me. I tried to ignore it. I believed in floating above petty drama. Also, I thought maybe I was being sensitive. Until the meeting that day. Leading up to it, I was preparing presentation, reports, data. I worked late, double-checked slides, rehearsed answers to possible questions. I believed if I was over-prepared, nothing could go wrong. Yet I did not see that silent tension brewing. That morning, I walked into the conference room with confidence. Boss, his key team, a few managers. I opened with the agenda. I was presenting results, improvements, projection. Everything was going well. Then suddenly, his wife stormed in. She didn't knock. She didn't ask to join. She interrupted mid-sentence. Her voice sharp. Her words accusing. She claimed I had misled the team, manipulated numbers, or worse, had loyalties elsewhere. She raised her voice so others could hear. Colleagues looked shocked. I tried to respond calmly. I think there's a misunderstanding, but she cut me off. She started pointing fingers, calling me untrustworthy, even insulting me in front of everyone. My heart raced. I felt anger, fear, humiliation. Some stared, some averted eyes. The boss looked frozen. I had to make a choice in those seconds, stay quiet and absorb, or fight back and risk more escalation. I breathed, measured my words, tried to stay composed. After she stormed out, meeting ended abruptly. People whispered. I felt shaky. My voice trembled. My confidence shook. I walked out. Later, I sat at my desk, hands still shaking, thinking, what did I do wrong? Did I provoke her? Was I misunderstood? Did someone plant false information? Rumors started immediately. Some said I was to blame. Others said I was disrespected. My boss avoided me. The next day, HR called me in, not to accuse, but to ask me how I saw the meeting. They took me seriously. I showed my side, my slides, my data, emails. I had documented everything. But still, I knew power dynamics were involved. His wife had influence, unofficial but real. She was close to the boss, often attended social events, had ear with senior people. So even though I had facts, I felt unsure. Would those facts matter? I started asking questions. Not to attack, but to understand. Why did she attack me? What was her motivation? Was she protecting her husband or her territory? Was she insecure about something I was doing? Did someone else tell her something false? I looked back at past meetings. Did she always behave this way around certain topics? I asked trusted coworkers. Had they noticed anything? I found patterns. Whenever I got praise from a higher-up, or when I suggested changes that involved her husband's direct reports, things shifted. Also, I found that she often felt ignored in the company decisions. Maybe this attack was partly coming from frustration. Maybe she saw me as a threat, or someone who upset her status. Understanding that heated, human side of power was essential. Because once I grasped why, I could plan how to respond, not just emotionally, but strategically. With clarity, I took action. First, I calibrated my public demeanor, stayed professional, avoided raising emotional voice, stuck to facts in meetings. Second, I documented everything. After that meeting, I wrote summary emails, summarized what I presented, what was said, who was present. I asked for confirmation. Was anything I said unclear? I saved emails that validated my data. Third, I reached out to a mentor, someone outside the company I trusted, to get perspective. Fourth, I asked HR what options there were: mediation, policy on workplace harassment, or conduct. Basic moves, but they started building a shield. Also, I avoided gossip. I did not respond to rumors. Instead, asked for fact-based feedback. I maintained consistency. Same level of work, same quality. I let my performance speak. Then came escalation. The boss's wife continued subtle sabotage, undermining me in smaller meetings, raising questions about my integrity behind closed doors, spreading rumors. My boss seemed torn, sometimes defensive of me, sometimes appeasing his wife. One day, she called a meeting without me, criticized my department's output, blamed me for delays I had nothing to do with. That was the turning point. I realized I couldn't win simply by being good. I needed leverage, evidence, allies. One of the managers privately told me he noticed her misrepresenting facts. HR quietly said they had heard complaints. I gathered testimonies, people who saw what she did. I realized I wasn't alone. Seeing that, I found courage. I prepared a formal complaint, not as an accusation, but as a request for fairness, clear processes, transparency. Because only when bigger forces see what's wrong can things change. Once I had allies and documentation, I shifted narrative. I stopped being defensive and started being proactive. I began framing my feedback sessions, my status reports in public settings. I asked to lead small projects. I made sure my successes were visible, not boastful, but clear. I shared credit when possible, so it wasn't me versus her, but team achieving results. I communicated in ways other stakeholders could understand: executives, HR, peers. I sought visibility outside immediate group, gave updates to senior management, proposed ideas, asked for feedback. Also, I worked to improve relationships. I found chance to talk privately with her husband, gently clarify misunderstandings. Sometimes even compliment her wife when she did something good, making sure she felt seen. Because influence is partly social. Once people see you as reasonable, as constructive, narrative shifts. You stop looking like trouble, start looking like someone who contributes. That changes who listens to you.